Welcome, everybody, to Tectonic Takes. I'm your usual co-host, along with two of my other usual co-hosts now. We're here, all three of us together, finally. We're finally taking on the Quake Tectonic Takes all together. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself. Everybody probably already knows who they are, but we'll start off with you. We'll go with Will first.
Well, what's up, everybody? It's Will again. I'm just glad to be here with all the three guys. It's time to get this one out there for all three of us.
And then now,
all right,
Ivan.
We'll get better at this. Like, we had a bit of a transition period as we were adding people to the podcast, and now that all three of us are here at once, we'll do better with our next intro. But yes, it's me, Ivan. Glad to be here. And you may not see this if you're listening to the audio-only podcast, but within our shirts we're wearing right now, I have Marvel superheroes on mine. Favi's wearing a Kristaps New York Knicks jersey, and William is wearing a In-N-Out shirt. So hopefully, as the playoff push continues, the Quake's focus can be more than what our apparel shows. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to break down this game.
Yeah, well, let's get straight into it. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, consider joining our Patreon for early and exclusive content and more bonuses. Again, this podcast is completely funded by all you guys on our Patreon, so we greatly appreciate all your support. And we're also part of the Beautiful Game Network, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then follow us at Tectonic Takes at Ivan Ornelas 2, the only Quaker. And Will, what's your Twitter?
BP_Schneider.
If you want to go ahead and follow us. So welcome to the Tectonic Takes podcast. We are sponsored by Roughneck Scarves, and we're really going to catch up on the opening kind of thoughts about this game. What do you guys think? We'll start with you, Ivan.
All right, so my opening thoughts on this game start on a positive note. Christian Espinoza's 21 assists are third most in club history through a player's first 50 games. And you have Eric Winalda with 29 and Cerritos with 22. So that's great company to be a part of that. Hopefully he can add to that tally. We know that he's young and he might get a chance to move to a different league at some point. But while we have him, I think he's proven to be one of the best acquisitions in the last few years.
Yeah. What about you, Will? What'd you think?
I'm just to start it off, I'm completely mad about this result. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I do appreciate the Espinoza love because I'm a big fan. But other than Espinoza doing his thing, it's a complete terrible situation the Quakes put themselves in.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Yeah, I think Nick Leva giving up that foul in a perfect range to kick a free kick is one of the biggest mistakes of the year. It wasn't even a threatening position the guy was in. His back was towards goal. That was a really dumb foul to give up. That's my thoughts on it. Ivan, what do you think?
Right. And not to mention that the person who scored the free kick, Ali Adnan, who I still consider the best left back in MLS, he scored a not as good as this one. He scored a pretty good goal against the San Jose Earthquakes in the MLS's back tournament. So you knew what was coming if you were to give up a free kick. That was always the danger, and that's why you have to adjust and play differently when you're defending against a team that has a free kick taker that's that lethal.
Right, and this is the common Quakes, right? We know these Quakes. The same thing is happening as last year, as this year. We were 4-0. Like me and Will were talking in the last podcast. We were 4-0 against them this year. we were dominant against them, and we started to become dominant. I mean, we were winning 1-0, and then in the second half, we let the cat, drop out of the bag. We just let them run the whole table on us, and they had the momentum with that goal, and then we are really bad with goals being scored and getting back on track, and that was evident in this game as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of a typical Quake fashion. We get a lead and we lose it. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with the Quakes. They've getting leads and they somehow just blow them, and it's terrible to see that.
All right,
Yeah.
so the lineups for this game, Vancouver Whitecaps, they started Evan Bush in goal. Their back line was Jacob Nerwinski, Ranko Veselinovic, Eric Godoy, and Ali Adnan. Their midfield consisted of Tosaint Ricketts, Johnny Obukel, Leonard Owusu, and Christian Dahome. And their starting striking pair up top was Freddie Montero and Lucas Cavallini. And their substitutes used were Christian Gutierrez, Russell Tybert, Theo Baird, and Andy Rose. So this looked like a bit more of a threatening team than the last time they played.
Definitely.
Not too many changes, but their attacking options are no joke. Freddie Montero, everyone in MLS knows who he is. Lucas Cavallini and Tosaint Ricketts are both important players within the Canadian men's national team setup. And Ali Adnan, of course, is always a threat when he goes higher up the pitch. So
Yeah, and we saw
this wasn't going to be an easy game.
Yeah, definitely not. And the Quakes lineup consisted of JT Marcinkowski, Nick Lima, Marco Lopez on the 72nd minute to come in for Nick Lima. Florian Jungwirth was actually taken off on the 80th minute by Siad Haji. Osvaldo Alanis, Tommy Thompson, taken off by Shea Salinas in the 71st minute. Yutsin Christian Espinoza, while he was taken off by Kid Cal in the 80th minute. Jackson Yole, Andy Rios, and Carlos Fierro, Chris Wondolowski. Normal lineup for us, not any big changes. Some people were actually very frustrated that all of our subs actually came out in the 70th minute. And this is a common theme with Matias Almeida's tactics this year. Bringing on guys too late, in my opinion. What do you guys think of the lineups? Will, we'll start with you.
First off, I mean, it's a typical quick lineup to the start. I just want to put out there, since we're talking about the lineups, the two losses the Quakes have taken has been because Alanis has been in over Beeson. Just a thought to put out there. Two losses is that for Alanis instead of Beeson. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised that we took a little bit to put some subs in. I mean, especially, a must-win game. I thought maybe we'd try to press a little bit more and try to get more offense in there. But yeah, I think it was definitely a little late. And I was surprised to see Haji in. I mean, I really was. I mean, I don't know. We can get into it in a little bit about where was Vaco, where was Kasia, where were these guys that came back? I mean, maybe they just weren't ready yet. But still, it was just interesting to see Haji even get in at all.
Yeah, I definitely think that Haji was a weird sub. Ivan, what do you think of the lineups from the Quakes?
Good lineup, but the substitution should have been utilized a bit differently. I think the 80th minute in particular is too late to bring on Cade Cowell, who has been one of our best players off the bench. You need to give him more time to make an impact on the game, especially if you're down 2-1. You conceded 2 goals in the space of 6 minutes, but so you're 2-1 down by the 57th minute. So you should not be waiting 14 minutes when the earliest substitution for Shea Salinas was made to make your first substitution. It should be either immediately after that second goal or within 5 minutes, I think. If you're serious about getting something from that game, and especially at this point in the season, this is the 4th to last game of the Major League Soccer season, you have no wiggle room at this point. The margin for error is so small.
Yeah, and just to quickly go over the highlights, the Quakes got off to a good start. They were kind of business as usual. So against Vancouver, we were looking at a normal Vancouver game. While we're taking possession, they're kind of chasing the game, doing our normal Quake stuff. Espinoza missed a good chance at the 18th minute. Espinoza made amends with a brilliant run, torching the Whitecaps and setting up Fierro for the opening goal. This was a great goal. I haven't seen a goal like this from the Quakes in a long time. This is something that looks like a very lethal team. This is something that you would see from Atlanta or even from a European side, right? This isn't your Dom Kinnear go to the end line, cross it over, and maybe Wondolowski grabs a little small header into the back of the net. No, this isn't that. This was a banger from Fierro. What are you guys' thoughts on the first goal with an Espinoza assist? Let's start with Will.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Espinoza is, I said before, our Quakes team. Our offense goes through Espinoza. He's the one that creates everything. He has 8 assists on the year. I want that 10 assists, especially these next 2 games, as important as they are. And yeah, he set up Fierro nicely, and it was good that Fierro, we actually put it through. I mean, if he missed that, we would be calling for his head. But yeah, he definitely needed to get that goal, and it was Espinoza did everything for him.
Yeah, a few weeks ago I might have said, well, thank goodness Andy Rios was not into that. But even now, maybe it was for the best that it was Carlos Fierro. But yeah, Fierro was in the right place at the right time. You had to make that run, and you capitalize on that space to get on the end of crosses like that. And Christian Espinoza did most of the work, I think. He made that blistering run on the right-hand side, and then he whipped that ball in with pace and accuracy. It was incredible to watch. And watching that goal, even though it's only 1-0, you start to think to yourself, okay, maybe the Quakes are going to see this one off. Like, we know Vancouver Whitecaps, they've been playing a lot better, and they're right on our heels. But this looks like a game that the Quakes can win. ...
Right. Yeah, this seemed basically like the Quakes were on track to beat the Whitecaps for the third time this season, but the game was flipped on its head when Ali Adnan's free kick goal occurred, which was a goal of the week candidate. Again, we talked about this a little earlier. Nick Lima had a very, very bad mistake there. How are you going to give up that crucial free kick to one of the better free kick taking teams in the league? Freddie Montero was looking for that the whole game. He was actually kind of simulating and flopping a bit to try to get a free kick given to the team. So that was definitely their plan. They knew that they could beat this Quakes team by getting a free kick, changing the momentum, because the Quakes were very much in control of the game, but they were still only up 1-0. So they had a game plan. They executed. What do you guys think of that free kick goal from Ali Adnan? We'll start with Will.
Yeah, I mean, it was a devastating blow to the Quakes. It was a nice, solid kick. I was hoping that JT could have made the save, but Adnan put a nice foot to it. I think it really just devastated the Quakes. I mean, clearly it took they scored soon after with another goal. So I think it really just took away any Quakes momentum that they had and took away their spirits.
Yeah. Yeah, the goal was nominated for Goal of the Week, and I believe voting for that ends next week. I don't know. If a Goal of the Week candidate is scored against you, do you want to vote for whatever else might win instead, or do you want to vote for it to justify, okay, well, in our defense, that was a Goal of the Week.
Right.
But, yeah, it sucks that Nick Lima gave away that foul so cheaply, and it's one of those things where you got focus at this point of season, even if you don't get booked for it, that any foul in that area could be costly. And especially, and it's not just the Vancouver Whitecaps, of course, at least half of the teams in MLS, I would say, have somebody on their roster that can put the ball in a dangerous area from that position, because this is a very top-heavy league. Right. And you got to be careful of that. If you're giving up free kick goals to the Vancouver Whitecaps and you have LAFC and Seattle Sounders left on your schedule, they're licking their lips. Right.
Yeah, and I saw this goal happen, and to myself, I thought, you know what? I might be done with the Nick Lima experiment. I don't know. I thought I've never seen Marcos Lopez give up a dumb foul like that, and I got really mad because then I thought all of the momentum that we had in the first half, all the momentum that we had with this 1-0 start and a great goal just went down the drain. And the next goal is kind of evident of that. Tosaint Ricketts' goal from the free kick conceded by Nick Lima, again, was a big contribution from a veteran player. He's 33 years old with 61 caps and 17 goals for Canada. He's played for in Finland, Romania, Norway, Turkey, Israel, Lithuania. He's somewhat of a journeyman, right? And while the Whitecaps fans are clamoring for the next Alphonso Davies or Huang In Biom to save the team. Bum. He's a player to save the team. He's a player you can't help but root for unless he's playing against your team. To St. Ricketts, I've seen play for Toronto FC as well, right? So he's definitely a journeyman, and he always has an impact. He's kind of – these guys shouldn't be scoring on us. But, again, a corner kick given up by Nick Lima. We've been really bad on corners and set pieces this year, and this game is just evident of it. Will, Ivan, what do you guys think of this second goal from the Whitecaps? We'll start with Will.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough to see. I mean, this goal that shouldn't have happened. I mean, I just want to really want to rip into the Quakes, but I'm trying to refrain myself. I'm trying to calm down a little bit because this is a game that we needed to win, and it's been a problem for the Quakes. So I know I'm not getting into depth about the goal. I'll let Ivan do that part, but I just need the Quakes fans need to know that this has been a recurring thing, that we don't finish games. We're not getting the wins that we need, and it's been like that since the last season as well.
Yeah, that was a good effort with the Korean name there. Since I've been following the World Series and been watching the exploits of the acrobatic G-Man Choi, I have a bit more practice with the Korean names right now. But anyway, to St. Ricketts, he's not a scrub. I know it sucks to concede a goal against a player he's not a superstar right now, but at the same time, that is a very veteran poacher type of goal. The types that we see and praise Chris Wondolowski for scoring sometimes.
Right.
And what bugged me most about that goal, however, was, he did well to find himself in that space, similar to Carlos Fierro in this same game. But Tommy Thompson, he was right next to him, and he was nowhere near him. That was bad from Tommy Thompson, and it's one of the reasons why when you have your full complement of fullbacks, you stick with Marcos Lopez on the left and maybe less high on Nick Lima on the right, but still he's your best right back when you have everyone available. And Tommy Thompson is either on the bench or he's playing in center midfield. It's unfortunate, but for all the good things Tommy Thompson brings to the table, he is responsible for a few of these goals this season, or at least providing these opportunities from being burnt from opposing attackers.
Yeah. This is hard because Nick Lima and Tommy Thompson, these are staples of this team, and it's hard to see the writing on the wall. I bet if you're any other fan from any other league that you're covering the San Jose Earthquakes team, you would right away think, gosh, we need to change these fullbacks right now because we are constantly getting beat this year by our fullback play. Remember that Galaxy game where Tommy Thompson was just burned every single play by Pavon, that we lost that game, and then there was other games where I guess it's top-heavy league, right? So there's going to be attacking players that are always better than our defenders. But it just seems like from the outside looking in, our defense is where our faults lie. The next game note that we have here, the result gives the Whitecaps a potentially crucial and fatal tiebreaker against the San Jose Earthquakes in the standings. Total wins. Hopefully Freddie Montero's injury isn't too severe. It appears it was minor. So a little bit of sportsmanship from us. We don't want to see Freddie Montero to be, too injured from what happened during this game. He's a great player. We love him in the league.
Especially this season in 2020 where the injuries have been rampant across all leagues in soccer and across all sports in general. It's just I'm over it. I know injuries are part of sports, but it's been happening a bit too frequently, partially due to the decision to try to start and finish these league seasons that were interrupted. And unfortunately, there's not much that can be done as long as they persist to keep playing. And, you always want to win against the best teams possible, too. You don't want to have that lingering over your head. Oh, we won, but this guy got injured who's very important to their team as well. So,
and
good luck.
So the Whitecaps are going through what the Quakes went through in a few games ago, a massive resurgence to potentially change their failure of a season into success of sorts. It's sad to hear this because we were just there 2 weeks ago, and then you guys had a podcast together, and I had a podcast with Will, and maybe it's not having all three of us is bad luck, right? But
who knows?
I mean, gosh, this is a roller coaster of a season. Just like last year. I mean, this is Fisher must be looking at this thinking if we maybe just filled our third DP spot, not even crazily bought a player, just filled it or brought in a transfer, maybe we wouldn't be in this position. Maybe we would have a playoff spot already in our hands, right? But again, this comes down to we are Quakes fans, right? And we should expect this already. To go on next, the stats. The stats show that this was a massive blown opportunity for the Quakes. Even more so because everybody's so close in the league table now that this is going to hurt you. This looking at it right now, it's hurting all three of us. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly go through them. Shots 10-4, the Whitecaps, 4-2 on target, favor of the Whitecaps. Possession was 62% from the Quakes. Passing accuracy 89% Quakes, 81% Whitecaps. Chances created by the Quakes, advantage 1-0. Even on corners, 6 each. Whitecaps had 19 fouls. The Quakes had 7. So we just gave up big fouls, right? I mean, that's a lot. That's definitely a big difference. No offsides for either team. 2 yellow cards for the Whitecaps, 1 for the Quakes. And we're going to go ahead and do this one stud and one dud of this game. We're going to wrap it up a little bit. So we're going to start with Ivan. What was your one stud and your one dud?
Yeah, so my stud was easily Christian Espinoza. I give credit to Carlos Fierro for putting him back in the net, but I think Christian Espinoza, he created that opportunity. He ran past the defenders, blitzed them, and the cross was perfect. And he adds to his impressive assist total for San Jose Earthquakes. As for my dud, it was tough because Nick Lima was technically at fault for both of those goals, but it's one thing to concede a foul and to concede a corner that may or may not lead to goals. In this case, they did. Tommy Thompson, he guaranteed that the second goal would happen by not marking Tosaint Ricketts.
Yeah. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the easy stud I will agree with Ivan is Christian Espinoza. I mean, he created that whole goal. He is our offense. And my dud, I'm going to go with is Matias Almeida.
Yeah.
I think bad starts with the subs. I mean, that's the first thing I'm going to get out of that. I mean, after that scene what Tommy Thompson did, Marco should have came in probably soon right after that. I didn't like the Haji sub at all. I would rather see like Paul Marie get in, especially since he's subbing Flo in. And I just think this is a game that Matias needed to have a good game plan for, and it was a must-win, and he didn't execute. I'm calling for Matias on this one because this is like we need wins, and we haven't seen the Quakes done that yet. On a must-win game, we have not seen Quakes do that, so I'm going for Matias with a dud.
Yeah, so my stud this game was Utzin. The reason why I'm not giving it to Christian Espinoza is because I thought he was a little I'm starting to think that he's a little bit selfish on the counters. He had a wide open Wondolowski back post on, I think, 2 occasions this game, and he kind of went for the shot on the counters. So I'm starting to see Espinoza being a little more selfish than when he shouldn't be. And that's weird, right? Through 50 games, he's 3rd all-time assist leader for the Quakes. So imagine if he just sees Wondolowski more, how many more assists he could have. And my dud is the same as Will, right? It's going to be Matias Almeida. You can't expect to win a game with giving your guys, your subs, the guys who should be impact players, less than 20 minutes. I mean, they need to come on right away. Once that second goal comes in, bring in Cade Cowell. You need to stretch that back line. You need some sort of, edge in your offensive side. You need to bring in Vaco. You have a DP player. Why aren't you bringing this guy in? What happened? Where's Vaco? This is like finding Private Vaco, right? Where is he? We need goals, and he wasn't there. So that's my take on it. Any closing thoughts on this game,
can you find him? Tom Hanks, please find Vaco for us. I'm confused because Marcos Lopez was able to make an appearance off the bench, but not Vaco or Kasia. All 3 of them were missing on international duty, although maybe Lopez came back sooner from Peru in CONMEBOL than Vaco and Kasia did from Georgia in UEFA. So that's got to be my only theory for why this is possible. But it was just an odd situation.
Yeah, maybe who knows what the whole rules are with COVID and all this kind of stuff coming back all the way from a different country. Who knows if there was anything due to that, or just maybe, I don't know, time difference. They just weren't ready. They just didn't. Who knows? Who knows what it was? But I mean, I'll be very surprised if we don't see Marcos Lopez starting over Tommy Thompson and Vaco in as well. I'll be very surprised.
My whole thing is, even if Vaco is jet lagged, I would take a jet-lagged Vaco over Siad Haji in a must-win game any single day. So we're never going to find out. Yeah. We're never going to find out what the reasoning was. And I think Matias earns this dud wholeheartedly. I mean, that you can't be a winning CONCACAF Champions League coach and make mistakes like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. On a night where in baseball, Kevin Cash lost the World Series for the Tampa Bay Rays, Matias Almeida, he seems to either win or lose games sometimes for the San Jose Earthquakes as much as the players themselves do. So that's something to look out for within this Matias Almeida experience. But we're going to hope that he learns from this. And with a few more days, with Real Salt Lake coming up, we see Vaco in some capacity.
Yeah, so a little bit of Quakes news to go. After all of that, we have some big Quakes news. So this might be the start of silly season. Our second transfer rumor, the first was Kate to Barca of the silly season. Fierro going back to Chivas due to being homesick for a straight swap of JJ Macias. So the Chivas specialist on this podcast, Ivan Ornelas, what do you think of this player?
Yeah, honestly, I'm just thrilled because before this and before the Kate Cowell rumor, the only other transfer link was Magnus Eriksson going back to Sweden. So I was a little worried that our only transfer target was going to come from like the New Zealand second division or something. But thankfully, we're playing with the big boys a bit, where we're we're dealing with one of the most successful sides in Liga MX history, and of course one that's very near and dear to Matias Almeida. We've already had a couple players, Osvaldo Alanis and Carlos Fierro, come from those Chivas links, and Carlos Fierro could be making a return to Chivas. Back in Chivas, Carlos Fierro, when he was very young, he was tipped. He was essentially Irving Lozano before Irving Lozano. Everyone thought that he was going to amount to something great. If he panned out the way he was supposed to, he would be playing in the Champions League this week instead of playing for the San Jose Earthquakes. But right now, we have an opportunity, it seems like, to give Chivas Carlos Fierro, and in exchange, we get JJ Macias, which is a big deal, I think. He's 21 years old, and he's been playing well for Chivas. I think that would be he's a striker, so he would be a young, long-term potential solution for Chris Wondolowski.
Yeah, in the dialogue with Marca, the young Mexican player affirmed that it is always nice to return to where he was once was happy. So I look a little bit more into this quote due to the fact that a lot of players say, oh, they would love to go back to where they started. But in this quote, it's saying that he was happy back at Chivas, and that might mean that he's not happy now. So that's a little bit of what that's alluding to. So for all you guys that don't know JJ Macias, he is currently valued at $10 million on Transfermarkt. He's played for Chivas and León, currently has 5 goals and 15 appearances in Liga MX this year. And he has a rating of 75 on FIFA. So if all you guys play FIFA out there, as well as a potential of 84 in FIFA. So big bit of news. Yeah. This is huge. Will, do you have any insights on this, or do you have any takes on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about the player, but the first thing that comes to mind is you said striker, right? I mean, that's huge. He's the fact that the Quakes might get a striker to fill in possibly for Wanda, or just to get more goals from attacking player is just huge news to the Quakes fan, and hopefully this goes through. Like you said, he's a young player. He's 21 years of age, 5 goals in just 15 appearances so far this season for Chivas. I mean, the kid could score. So hopefully we can get him and he can transfer it over for the Quakes, and it'll just be exciting news, for the Quakes to actually get something done like this.
Yeah, and in Liga MX, and since I've been insisting on calling it Liga MX, I should technically call JJ Jota Macias, kind of like how Hector Herrera is H, not HH. So my bad, all our Liga MX and fans and Mexicans and Latinx people that listen to this podcast. Anyway, in Liga MX, they play 2 seasons, the Apertura and the Clausura. Each of them are 17 or 18, pretty sure 17 games long. So a return of 5 goals is not inconsequential. It does make a big difference. It's almost a goal every 3 games, which is not the best, but it's productive. So I'll definitely take that, and especially in Liga MX, which I think is a better defensive league than MLS, especially since virtually all of the DP signings MLS makes are for attacking players.
So, I mean, if Osvaldo Alanis wasn't starting for Chivas, and he, I would say, is one of our better starters, if not our best defensive back, it speaks. You don't think so? You don't think so?
I don't know. I'm just getting at him because he's we lost both times. He's been there decent. And we were winning games. Okay, I'm not saying decent's better.
In our podcast,
I'm just hating that we lost. That's all. Yeah. I'm just gonna blame somebody. But no, I mean, Alanis is probably one of our better players. But he better prove it come Real Salt Lake, or he should be out.
Okay. There you go. Will's hot take. All right, Will's Tectonic take right there. All right.
I'm just hot right now.
Yeah, I think personally, I think this is the start of silly season, right? I believe the rumor for Kate to Barca more. I think this year, I think this rumor here has some standing, but I think if you're Chivas, why don't you ask to straight swap with Galaxy for Chicharito, right? So I think the value is just a little too far off here. I don't think Fierro is worth close to $10 million. So again, if Javier Hernandez is available or Carlos Fierro, and then I can straight swap it with JJ Macias or Jota Macias, I'm not taking Carlos Fierro no matter what. I'm taking Javier Hernandez. He sells more jerseys. He's not having a good season at the Galaxy.
And he's a Chivas legend.
Exactly.
He may not be playing well now, but his career blew up because of his play at Chivas. He doesn't move to Manchester United in 2010 if he doesn't kill it in Liga MX with Chivas. So
right, and I think if you're the Galaxy, you might even get more out of Chivas than just this one player for Javier Hernandez. And there has to be talks. I mean, there's no way there's not talks. I mean, the Galaxy are sitting at the last, I think the worst team in the Western Conference, right? So they probably want to offload Javier Hernandez as quick as possible. I think, this. What do you guys think? Do you think this is going to happen? Let's start with Will.
Knowing the Quakes and how things go, probably not. But we Quakes, every Quakes fan, and we should be all optimistic, thinking yes, this is going to happen, and we're going to have all the things we want come to this team. But realistically, no. Like you said, it's probably not going to happen.
Ivan?
Yeah, so since MLS is in many ways a single entity league in the way it operates its transfer business, I assume that any club outside of MLS that is working with an MLS club is working with multiple MLS clubs trying to see what their best deal may be.
Right.
And I think if the Quakes were to pull this transfer off, it might be their biggest fleece in San Jose Earthquakes history.
Yeah.
It would be obviously fantasy football is a much smaller scale than soccer transfers, but this week in my fantasy leagues, I had someone trade Odell Beckham Jr. and Kenyon Drake, who had some of their best games of the season, and Kenyon Drake flopped, he got hurt, and OBJ got hurt. So that was a bit of a fleece there. This would be a very similar fleece if we were to give Carlos Fierro, who is having a good spell, but he's not saying the world a light either. to Chivas, and we get one of their best, if not their best prospect in return, which it doesn't make sense for me why Chivas would do it. And as a Chivas and San Jose Earthquakes fan, it would be a very weird feeling, but for the sake of this podcast, I would be very happy with it, of course. Yeah,
I think
it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are fantasy football fans, this is like getting Derrick Henry for Myles Gaskin, right? This is going to be a fleece if it happens. And what if Jesse Fioranelli pulls this off? Are we thinking, wow, like this GM is the best GM in the world?
He would save his job, I think.
Okay.
If it's in any realm of possibility in trouble, which I don't think so, because San Jose Earthquakes is very lenient with its ownership compared to almost any other team I can imagine, then this would definitely secure his job for maybe 5 more years at least.
Wow.
On this alone. That's how big of a coup this would be, unless Jota Macias would completely craps the bed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, yeah, definitely. If the GM gets this done, he's probably going to stay. I mean, I feel like we don't really see much of GMs getting moved around when it comes to the Quakes. We just see the coaches get moved around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see if this can get done. I mean, obviously, what you guys are talking about, it's very, very unlikely, and the player we're getting compared to what we're giving up is, big difference. But you never know. Chivas might just something might be wrong with them. They don't like his attitude or something. It could be something silly.
Maybe Carlos. They have pictures of Carlos Fierro in their boardroom. Maybe they miss him that much, right? Maybe the one that got away from them. Who knows? But moving on. We might have lost Ivan for a bit, but we're going to have our fan questions now. The way it's going to work, since we have 3 of us, I'm going to go ahead and say the question, and then I'm going to have Will and Ivan answer the questions. And if I have something to say, I'll go ahead and say it. But we're going to start with Will, and then we're going to go to you, Ivan. So the first one is Nestor from Twitter. When Wando's statue gets built, what kit should be used for the model?
That should be Kit with
that should be Kid, right?
Sorry.
Kit, right? No, I was like, what kid? What kit should be used for the model? I say the 2012 kit, but I'm curious to what you guys think. Let's start with Will.
I can't really think of a kit that I would really want. I'll definitely let Ivan take his big take on it. But, I mean, I just would want to see more the question, not the kit, but, like, the pose. What kind of Wando are we getting? Like, what kind of pose for Wando? Are we getting him jumping up with a fist up for a goal? I mean, that's what I'm more curious about. What he's going to be doing as the statue more than the kit itself.
I think it would be one where he's like screaming, right? Just screaming.
Like a double fisted scream.
Yeah, I think he would get one of those. Ivan, what kit do you think you'd want to see?
An honorable mention would be that shirt he wore when he was suspended and he was with the fans and put a beer in either hand. But in terms of an actual jersey, though, I think 2012's home jersey would suit it well. That was the most successful season for him as a player and for the team collectively, because they won a Supporters Shield. Wando hasn't won anything else with the Quakes, so that would be something that fans will treasure for a long time.
Thinking about when he did that, right? He went to the supporter section and cheered on his team. I don't think any other player that's that big to a club has ever done that. So that's a pretty legendary moment. Maybe Rossi, right? No, not Rossi. Totti from Roma. Maybe he did that too. But this is a very legendary thing, and I really wish the Quakes pushed it more. That their all-time great went to do that. But I'm actually gonna chime in on this one. I want to see the goal that he broke the record in. I mean the kit that he broke the record in.
Yeah,
I think
against Chicago Fire.
Yeah, I think that kit would be okay as well. Maybe just because I like that kick better, but no.
I mean, but that's a very good moment too.
Yeah.
The one I suggested and the one Nestor suggested, it was a combined personal achievement and a team achievement.
Right.
But, it's a statue of one person, so it is a good consideration for his greatest personal achievement to go down the record books as the all-time MLS leading goal scorer. And it will take some breaking, especially at the rate that players move in and out of MLS these days at the top end of the spectrum.
Yeah, you got to be careful for Kai Kamara and Bradley Wright Phillips. All right, let's hope they play for Nashville instead of Atlanta and LAFC, right?
Hey, Nashville, they're doing all right. We'll get into them when we go to the playoffs, but don't sleep on Nashville.
All right, so the next question comes from Mike Kleeman from Twitter. Do we give credit to Matias for returning Lima to his starting RB role, or does he deserve criticism for doing that excuse my language, that shit experiment in the first place? So, let's start with Will.
I mean, it's kind of hard to give him so much credit after we just after Favi talked about how bad Lima was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, was it a good experience? I mean, yeah. So let's just put it out there. Lima should be playing right back. Okay, let's not try to put him somewhere else where he shouldn't be playing. All right, he should be playing right back, and so I don't know about the giving him so much criticism. I just think we've had so much issues with our back line, or at least with the right back and left back situation to begin with. So I mean, we'll just leave it as it was an experiment. But just leave him back at the right back. I think we got Marco Lopez back now, so hopefully we don't have to, have any more experiments in the back line.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you can give managers the benefit of the doubt earlier in the season when there's a lot more moving pieces, even if the squad hasn't changed too much in the offseason. But we're at the business end, and I think the time for experiments does wane a lot more. I believe Mike is referring to the tendencies much earlier in the season, of course, when Marcos Lopez was unavailable due to injury. But I think for him to make that mistake so often, it does hurt. But at the same time, when Marcos Lopez was out, I can't really think of anyone else who has played regularly other than maybe Shea Salinas at left back that would have made more sense. So it's definitely somewhere in the middle. I don't credit Matias Almeida for playing Nick Lima in the position he should, and almost anyone else in his position would. But at the same time, that left back situation was a combination partially of necessity due to the Marcos Lopez injury.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick take on this one. No, we should give Michael Starre credit for bringing him on the first team, right, and bringing him in. So we should not give any credit to Matias Almeida on Nick Lima at right back.
Good point.
Next question, John J. from Twitter. Word on the street is that Aaron Johannesson is interested in playing in the MLS. That is word on the street for like the last 4 years. Bobby Wood was linked to the MLS earlier this year. How would these U.S. internationals fit in the Quakes? He also wants to know our thoughts on whether Bobby Wood or Aaron and Johannesson type of UMST player can improve the squad on a potential trade deal to send Carlos Fierro to Chivas, which would bring the 21-year-old rising star striker, like we said, JJ Macias.
So we covered the Macias part already, and we're all in agreement that if that offer is on the table, we're taking it any day that ends in Y. So, no question. As for the Aaron Johansson and Bobby Wood situation, I view those players who, let's face it, they're not really on the USMNT radar anymore these days, especially with the emergence of Timothy Weah, Josh Sargent, and maybe if we pry them away from Canada and Nigeria, Ayo Akinola. But as for the San Jose Earthquakes perspective, when you look at their current striking options, you can't say that Johansson or Bobby Wood would be a downgrade from perhaps Danny Houston or Andy Rios. They could contribute at MLS level as they have done in various European leagues. So I could see it as a possibility. It's not something that you're going to be like, oh my God, Bobby Wood is a San Jose Earthquakes player. But it's like, okay, this is a decent move.
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we want these guys on our team? I think they're proven national team players. Yeah, obviously not much lately, but they've been there, so they've played on bigger stages. So playing in MLS for them shouldn't be a big issue if they came to the Quakes. So we should all love it because, like you said, we've had interesting issues with our striking situations. So I would be all for it, but would it happen? I'm going to go with probably no chance.
Yeah, I think a lot of these teams know that they're U.S. national team players, or they used to be, and they'll probably try to have a high asking price. And I think this is the problem why they haven't been in MLS. Their current teams probably want a lot more than what MLS teams are willing to pay for them. And like Ivan said, they're not really on the radar anymore. They're a little older. Johannessen's had 2 really big injuries. They wouldn't hurt, right? But I think the price that they will charge will hurt us. So on to the next question. George Martinez from Facebook. I like how you brought up Vaco and Kashia's position may have been won by other players, especially Fierro. Like that goal he scored is something I haven't really seen from a Quake in a long time. If they have if they have to choose between Vaco and Fierro, do you cut Vaco if he's too expensive? We'll start with Will.
Interesting. Go ahead.
Sorry, Ivan.
Yeah, I know what. We'll let Ivan take this first take. Go ahead, Ivan. Where would you go?
Yeah, I think it might be Jorge Martinez. If it is, hopefully one of those guys.
George.
Right?
I said George. But anyway, it's Hota, okay? It's not JJ.
But anyway, so Vaco is definitely an interesting player where he's been very good at times and he's been very bewildering at times. Not necessarily bad, but confusing in his approach, in how he likes to dribble himself into submission sometimes. But I think, if we've been saying like you want the more proven player, you want to sell high, then I think overall in the body of work, you'd be leaning towards keeping Vaco, but at the same time, this ownership seems content with just the 2 DPs. So if you want to upgrade that DP slot, which you certainly can with Vaco, with all due respect, and then you could keep the cheaper option Fierro, and that would make sense too. So, I guess I would probably, in the hope that this ownership would look for a replacement, I would keep Fierro, but only in that situation, which is a big if, of course.
Right. What about that Magnus Eriksson fill-in? Did we get that yet?
Hey, I think Kevin
Partita's open. I mean, we can bring him in, right? I mean, he had a great USL season.
Kevin Partita could be the replacement we need, but I was thinking Eric Cavillo has been doing well with those increased minutes too. So, but yeah.
Shout out. We have a Kevin Partita interview if you want to check that out. And Eric Cavillo one. But yeah, Will, what do you think? Should they cut Vaco if he's too expensive?
Well, I mean, I would feel like this would be a Matias Almeida call. We would have to think in the mind of where Matias would think, is Fierro the guy that he wants on his team more than Vaco, or does he think Vaco is actually, we've seen Vaco play very well last season, and he's flashed a little bit this season, but not much as we want. But I guess if he is too expensive, with Quakes and their money, who knows, man? They probably will cut Vaco if he's too expensive.
I think if we do fleece the Chivas team and we get JJ or Hota, I think we should keep Vaco. Maybe he wants to stay on a cheaper deal, but we need some firepower, and maybe an actual striker with Vaco helps him out a bit. Gilberto from Discord asks, why didn't Marco Lopez start? We'll start with you, Ivan.
I think we did touch upon this a bit earlier. I think that they're easing in the international players into the squad because they did play a few games over the weekend. The Georgians played a bit more than Marcos Lopez. And I think with the whole COVID situation, I think they got to be very careful, and they have to provide as much quarantine time as possible, which is really tricky with MLS's very tight schedule, or any league's schedule really. But I think that's the only reason. I think if there were no international break right now, and it was just MLS, and Marcos Lopez didn't have to have an absence, then he would start any game that he's healthy.
What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't have a clear reason why I didn't start. Obviously, like Ivan said, we did touch on it earlier, but I will be calling for Matias Almeida's head if Marcos Lopez does not start the next game. I don't care if he's tired or whatever it is. He better have a good reason if he doesn't start.
So a little tidbit here. Matias Almeida usually keeps the same lineup if they win or if they have a positive result. So it might have been that he just didn't want to change the lineup at all. Because he wants to play the hot hand. But, yeah, like Will said, we need Marcos Lopez or else this is a very bad situation where we might be looking for Matias Almeida's head. All right, and the last question, guys, this is going to be a one-word answer only. Dan Burkhead asks, will the Quakes make the playoffs? Let's start with Ivan.
Yes.
Will?
Maybe.
No, that's good. And I'll say that possibly. No.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So latest MLS standings as of 10/27. I'm just gonna kind of go with
I'll read through them if
line.
that's okay.
Wait, what's up, Ivan?
I'll just read through them real quick.
Yeah,
if that's
sounds
okay.
good.
All right. So in the Eastern Conference, the top 5 have all clinched the playoffs: Philadelphia Union, Toronto FC, Columbus Crew, Orlando City, and recently today, New York City with the Nashville win over Montreal. So that leaves in the remaining playoff spots still up for grabs: 6th place New England, 7th Nashville, 8th New York Red Bulls, 9th Montreal Impact, and 10th Inter Miami. And then below the playoff line, Chicago Fire is just below Inter Miami on goal difference. Atlanta United is 2 points away in 12th. DC United is 3 points away. And in the bottom is FC Cincinnati, 5 points away. I think we can start to write off FC Cincinnati and DC United, but everyone else is in the mix for me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm going to take the lead on this one. I think it sucks that they get 10 teams in the playoffs and we only get 8. So
they have 14 teams, though, and we only have 12.
But they're trash, right? They're not like the Western Conference. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, no, but look at it. They have 5 teams with 30 or more points. The Western Conference only has 3. So it is a little bit tricky to read which conference is better because also with the schedule, a lot of teams have played each other 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times, and maybe they've only played some teams once or twice. So it is really tough to know.
Yeah, I think they're right. I mean, if you're Atlanta United at 19 points in 12th place and you can still make the playoffs, wow, that's crazy.
And it only gets crazier in the Western Conference. Will, do you have any thoughts on the East?
I'm just glad to see Inter Miami. Every time I've been doing these and we talk about the Eastern Conference, I just love to see that Miami is in there because we want to see these Higuain guys, man. That's what we want.
We're going to Miami.
Inter Miami have gotten some international attention. I follow a lot of Eurocentric YouTube channels, people from Ireland and England, and maybe a couple of them. And they have mentioned Inter Miami a lot more than they do other MLS teams because they've gotten Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi. Blaise Matuidi is only 2 years removed from winning the World Cup with France, and Gonzalo Higuain has been a very consistent striker in a top 5 European league for most of his careers. And they're still, they're a bit older, but they're not over the hill. So those are very good signings for Inter Miami. And they're one to look out for if they do make the playoffs. They'll be a trap game for whoever they draw.
Yeah, I'm out here in Japan now and looking at the J League a bit. I think if we brought in a guy like Iniesta to MLS, I still think he could do something, right? He's not too far removed. I think, if he wants to come live in Japan, he probably likes it out here. But if an MLS team can pay, Higuain money to him, he probably might come. So that's
Iniesta, I think he's a player where he has his technical ability that doesn't go away when you grow older. So within the right MLS system, which emphasizes passing and has some physical players around him, in Montreal, for example, you have the bruising Victor Wanyama covering for him, then you're solid. So
Right.
that would be interesting. So for the Western Conference, we have Seattle Sounders up top with 35 points. They clinched playoffs today with victory over Vancouver. Everyone else is still on the line. Second place, second place Sporting Kansas City, followed by Portland Timbers, LAFC, Minnesota United in fifth, FC Dallas in sixth. Vancouver Whitecaps with that win over San Jose Earthquakes. They're up in seventh with 24 points. They have that tiebreaker over the Quakes, who are in eighth, also in 24 points. Under the playoff line, Real Salt Lake is at 22 points in ninth. This is why the next game is so effing important. They're right on our tails. 10th place, Houston Dynamo, 21, and then followed by the enigma that is Colorado Rapids. They haven't played in a while with 19 points, and LA Galaxy at the bottom. So, what do you think?
What happens with Colorado? I don't think MLS has even said what's going to happen, right? And Will kind of said in the last episode that they might just not play. So we might get really, really, really lucky or really unlucky if Colorado does play or they don't play their games. And
If
that's
it's a
huge.
points by a game basis, then we might be screwed because Colorado Rapids, they played very well in the games that they did play. But if they decide, you know what, you missed too many games, sorry, not sorry, try again in 2021, then that's a huge break. That would be like in the EFL Championship. Wigan, they had a decent season. They beat Hull City 8-0, but they had a points deduction, so they got relegated. And Barnsley, who are low-key trash for championship standards, they survived. So it would be a similar break to that if that were to happen.
Yeah. Will, what do you think?
Well, the big news is that Colorado played 3 days ago, and they lost. So they did play.
Right.
It looks like they are going to play, which is good and bad. But looking at their schedule, I did a quick look. They got tough games. You know, they got Seattle and some other tough top playoff teams. So, you know, it looks like they're going to play. They're playing tomorrow. As of right now. So I think they got all their COVID stuff out of the way. So we'll see. So they are going to play the remainder of their games. I think they got five more. So,
big games. But they're still below. I think they're still behind about, 6-7 games, right? So what happened to those games that didn't get played, right?
I don't think they're going to get rescheduled at this point. There's not enough time left in the season because there's not a huge gap between the regular season and playoffs. I think the regular season also ends before the next international break. And, yeah, it's just going to be a logistical nightmare either way. So
it is looking like they're not going to make up their games. So that's actually better for the Quakes then.
I guess so. If they don't make up their games, then they have less points available to them throughout the season. So, you know, as much as it would be a break for us, Colorado Rapids fans would probably feel screwed. But someone's gonna get screwed either way, unfortunately.
Right.
And you know, in any sort of competition, better them than us, unfortunately. But we do recognize how good the Colorado Rapids team are. They demolished us when they played us in Commerce City, and if they don't make the playoffs this year, provided that they keep their core together and maybe add a few more players, they're definitely making the playoffs next year.
Yeah. So next,
I just want to put one more thought since we're on the topic real quick. So it looks like they have 4 games remaining. At least that's what it says on the schedule on the MLS app here. And the ones they got left are playing Minnesota, playing Seattle, playing the Timbers, and playing the Dynamo. So if those 4 games are at least the last ones that they're playing, at least we can say they're playing some tough competition there.
Right. And I read this article where MLSsoccer.com's Greg Seltzer, he talked about 4 teams that most needed to win their next game in order to make the playoffs. He chose Atlanta United, DC United, Houston Dynamo, and Real Salt Lake. So looking at these standings, they're all teams below the playoff line. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that that was his line of thinking. But at the same time, how are you going to mention Real Salt Lake when they're only 2 points off the San Jose Earthquakes and they just lost to Vancouver Whitecaps? I think Real Salt Lake and San Jose Earthquakes are both equally in the same position, even though they're in different sides of the playoff, non-playoff line. So I think Quakes need to win this next game just as much as Salt Lake does.
And I think this is our first time playing correct me if I'm wrong, Real Salt Lake since MLS is back, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is going to be a weird game, right? These teams do not know each other since the tournament. So we might see a 4-1 victory to the Quakes. We might see a 4-1 victory to RSL, right? So this is going to be a huge game. The Quakes need our love, so let's make sure that we are still vocal and that we still love them. So predictions on the Quakes hosting Real Salt Lake. We'll start with Will. What's the outcome you think is going to happen?
I'm gonna go with 2-1. Like I said, I don't feel like we haven't seen these guys, but we need a 2-1 victory. I'm gonna go with gonna get Andy Rios back on the score sheet again, and we're gonna see hopefully Wando as well on there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go 2-0. I think they're gonna have to have a team meeting. They're gonna have to work hard in training, or have done, hopefully, in between these two games. They're going to be so focused. Their season's on the line, and they do have a psychological edge. There's only one game played between them, and Quakes won 5-2, and MLS is back. That was one of the biggest ones of the season, and they're going to, if they win this game, this will be bigger than that game, regardless of the scoreline. I think Chris Wondolowski will end his mini goal drought, and I think Christian Espinoza, the provider, becomes the provided. He gets a goal as well, and I think that they'll have enough to contain an interesting Real Salt Lake attack. They have some decent players like Albert Rusnak and Damir Kralak, but I think that they'll have enough to contain them at home, and they have to. They're going to think in the back of their mind 3 points, because LAFC is up next at home. You go to CenturyLink Field after that against the Sounders. You do not want to be begging for points against those teams. You need all 3 points, or you're at the mercy of the rest of the league.
Yeah, we'll see. This is a must-win game. Again, LAFC, we have beat them for the first time in all of our outings against them the last time we played, but let's not, that might have been a fluke. Let's not beg to differ that we need another miracle. Matias Almeida better come on firing all cylinders, just because if the Quakes don't make the playoffs, heads are going to start to come off, right? So
hopefully
this might be Matias Almeida's hot seat time if they don't make the playoffs again. I'm predicting 3-1 win, Quakes. I'm thinking Andy Rios gets on the score sheet, Fierro, and then Wondolowski does as well. So that wraps it up for us, guys. We're going to try to make our episodes a little quicker now, since we have all 3 of us, and since we can really kind of get to the meat and potatoes right away. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, it's at Tectonic Takes, at Ivan Ornelas 2, and BP Schneider on Twitter, and myself, the only Quaker, on Twitter. But please, first and foremost, check out our Patreon. We want to be able to grow this community, and we want to be able to grow our podcast for all Quakes viewers and listeners. We encourage you to be active on Quakes social media, such as Facebook group, Reddit, and Discord as well. But please check out our Patreon. The link will be provided below.
Yeah, the Facebook group specifically is the San Jose discussion group that we're in. That's the main one if you want to look that up. Yeah. And just quickly, I want to thank again our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And also, tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? I know you take your jersey seriously with that clean Knicks Porzingis jersey.
But it's boring.
Yeah, so are you looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team?
I know Will is.
Yeah.
Icarus SC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com.
So when do we get a Tectonic Takes one?
Ooh,
maybe we gotta get a jersey. We gotta get a jersey.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have to discuss some ideas. Maybe if any of you listen to this have an idea for a Tectonic Takes jersey, and we'll be sure to post some pictures on it because we know most of you listen to the podcast audio only version of this episode. Send us your ideas. We'd love to try them out, and maybe we will take up Icarus FC on their offer.
So really quickly, guys, and if you see our post, please show us some love. Sometimes when I post to the Facebook group of the San Jose Earthquakes discussion, I feel like we are being annoying and that people don't want to listen to us kind of push our podcast just because we want to make a bigger community. So please show us love. Let us know that you guys like hearing us and like seeing our posts. At times it gets a little bleak when the San Jose Earthquake discussion, I feel like sometimes they don't want to hear us. So let us know that you like our podcast. We love hearing all the love. And even if you have something that can make us better, please, we would love to hear your input. And
I enjoy interact. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Ivan. You enjoy interacting.
And I enjoy interacting with all of you guys on Twitter, particularly. I know that's where a lot of our listeners come from, but from all over the place. Especially during this pandemic that is still ongoing, seemingly never ending. It started like 7 months ago, but feels like 7 years sometimes. And having you guys to talk to, my co-hosts, and as well as everyone else who listens, it really makes a big difference for how I go about my day every day. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah. And Will, do you have anything to say? Anything to the viewers or the listeners?
Yeah, I'm new, so hopefully you guys aren't annoyed with me, to this point, because you're stuck with me. Too bad. But no, I'm just grateful to be starting this community. I'll definitely start getting into more of an effort to really start showing more love and trying to get more interaction with the fans. But yeah, please hit me up. I'm always open to talk about the Quakes, and I'm just excited to finish off this season and for more seasons to come.
Yeah. So when the stands open up, I know Santa Clara lightened up their sanctions. Will actually might be our representative going to the games for us. So let Will know if you have anything, you want to tell him, or if you want him to look out for anything. It might be coming up in the future that Will is going to be our media representative due to the fact that I'm in Japan and Ivan's in San Diego. So Will is in the Bay Area at our home base. So just a heads up. And that wraps it up for us, guys. Thank you for listening. We're going to make these more often. And look out for our schedule upcoming. We have Marva Wynn coming on. We have Ted Ramey coming on, as well as Jamin Moore coming on. And we possibly might finally get to the fan questions on Quincy Amarikwa. So, again, take a look out or check out our upcoming episodes. And I want to say, go Quakes.
Go Quakes.
Let's go Quakes.